this is my review of Solar Opposites. Okay, so this episode's gonna be a bit controversial because in this episode, the Schlorbians tackle gender equality, and it is great. So this episode primarily has an A plot and a B plot, but they are kind of interconnected, mostly at the end. But in any case, so yeah, there's actually two plots. The episode starts off with Terry and Korvo actually seeing their neighbor building a man cave and are curious as to know what a man cave is. So their neighbor gives them the grand tour and shows them what exactly a man cave is supposed to be. And everybody knows what a man cave is. It's a place where somebody, usually a guy, gets away to just take a break from the family or whatever and just chill out. That's it. It's just a place for guys to hang out. It's basically just a game room for men. That's it. That's all it is. That's all a man cave is. But here's the thing. Terry and Korvo don't know what a man cave is, and they don't really understand what a man cave is actually supposed to be. So they just kind of take their neighbor's idea, take their neighbor's man cave, and just, copy that. And thinking that they can actually get a lot of work done because they think that because their neighbor's so confident and relaxed in there that they realize that it must be a miracle of human nature or something, and realize that they need that kind of thing for themselves since they kind of don't get anything done. So sure enough, they build a man cave. They fill it with a bunch of stuff that was in their neighbor's man cave, or at least something very similar to it, as close as they could get without actually doing it, because they're kind of don't really have much of a way to do it. But in any case, they go into the man cave and try to actually just let it all sink in for them. But then it just doesn't work for them. They realize that something is most likely missing, so they analyze a holographic image of their neighbor's man cave to try and figure out what's going on. And then they kind of don't get what it is. So what they think, we've established that the man cave is just a way for a guy to relax and just have some time to himself. But what they think it is that the main experience of the man cave is for somebody to actually hate the man cave. So they invent a Robotnate, whose anagram spells Patricia, to actually serve as a way to hate the man cave. Basically it's a robot that they programmed with every single possible TV personality they could find, and just programmed it into one robot. And it works a little too well. So she absolutely hates the man cave and despises them going in there and spending all their time in there. But there's also some side effects to the fact that they programmed the robot to behave the way it was. So notably, whenever Korvo is around, it treats him like a wife would, or at least a wife that just doesn't like their husband very much and just constantly complains about Korvo's antics and stuff like that, which causes Korvo to feel emasculated. And he, for whatever reason, that's okay with him. Meanwhile, whenever Terry's around, it treats him like it would a mother nurturing a child. And sure enough, when he accidentally injures himself playing foosball, involving one of the ball sticks getting skewered into his shoulder, she naturally rips it out, patches him up, and gives him some cookie dough from her robot breasts. That's a thing that happens in this episode, and it's not any less uncomfortable me saying what actually happens. So naturally, Terry and Korvo, realizing that that the only thing that would make the man cave better would be to have Patricia in the man cave with them, actually bring her down into the man cave to try and change the rules about the man cave so that she'll actually be comfortable being down there. But this causes her to become upset. And sure enough, her system starts to melt down, and instead of just going on to hate the man cave, she instead goes on to become a murdering robot that just destroys every man cave in the immediate neighborhood. And sure enough, Terry and Korvo now have to track her down and find a way to corner her. and that's where I'm going to leave it, because that's actually plays back into the B plot, which is that Jessie is as a school assignment now has to become a feminist, and that's what her arc in the episode is. It's about her. She takes it very literally and tries to find a literal man-dominated thing to conquer. So she comes up with various ideas. She goes from club to club trying to figure out where she can actually go to actually, become the only female in a group. But everywhere she turns, she realizes it's a lot harder than she thinks it is, because she wants to be the first woman to have ever done it. She wants to have top of the patriarchy. She wants to be the one to do that. And eventually after taking cocaine, which Yemulak explains is like Slorpions, is basically like sugar to Slorpions, because apparently their body processes it differently, is a little weird. It's a little weird and a little stupid, but you get it. But after taking some cocaine, which I'm not entirely comfortable saying, she realizes that the best way to topple the glass ceiling, at least to her, is to set up a club that's specifically designed to be gender exclusive, and then just walk in, reveal that she was a woman the whole time, and that a woman started a man's only club, just to shatter a glass ceiling, a metaphorical glass ceiling, and it works a little too well. So Jessie naturally attracts a crowd of men, and it works that way. But then her plan gets off without a hitch. A bunch of men come into her club. She reveals that she's a woman and that she started a man's only club, and that goes well. What happens is everybody who showed up to her club room didn't show up to join, but to protest about the fact that she's excluding men from her club, and is chased out of the school by a bunch of guys who hate her this misogynistic thing that just exists in their school. So naturally she goes running, and this is where the plots converge. So Terry and Korvo, realizing that they actually need a way to deal with the rampaging robot running through the street, realizing that they need to find a way to lower her into a location so that they can disable her. And sure enough, they finally come up with the idea of lowering her to a Dave & Buster's and disabling her there, which works. And sure enough, they have to find a way to disable her by taking away the little activation ring on her finger that Korvo designed to be in the shape of a wedding ring, but when worn, it actually turns the robot on. So they constantly fight to try and stop Patricia. Meanwhile, Jessie goes to the Dave & Buster's as well, because her teacher works there part-time and tells her that she actually couldn't find a glass ceiling to shatter. However, her teacher remarks that she didn't really notice that Jessie was a girl at all, because Jessie is a very gender neutral character, much like the rest of the Slorpian race. They don't really identify as male or female. They just kind of pick which gender to identify as and then go from there. That's basically what this episode sets up. It establishes at the beginning of the episode that Slorpians don't have a gender binary. They're either one and the other depending on what they pick. They don't really have a gender binary. They're just gender neutral because they're alien trees. So after Jessie realizes that, she confronts Patricia and tells her that she doesn't need to identify as a man or a woman, because she's not a man or a woman at all. She's a robot, and Jessie is an alien tree. So therefore, they really shouldn't be confirmed with gender stereotypes. And sure enough, but this causes Patricia to pause for a moment, thinking that since she's a killer robot, she can kill everyone. But that distracts her long enough for Korvo to take the activation ring off her finger, which causes her to transform back into her normal form and start to shut down. However, Korvo and Terry quickly realize that they can't actually disable her, pointing out that they kind of have this weird twisted thing going on, and they can't really get rid of her, because they realize that they can't live with her, can't live without her, so they do what they think is the best thing. They put their Patricia robot in a storage container with another robot, and then just bury them both. So yeah, basically that's how the episode ends. Also, I should mention, Yemulak isn't really in this episode at all. He goes off to do his own thing and has his own side plot that isn't really involved in either of these things. All he does is occasionally show up to give advice from time to time, But for the most part, he's off doing his own thing. So his thing is that he goes off to actually stop some rampaging koalas from escaping from the zoo, and I put them all back in the zoo. That was his thing that he did this week. That he did this episode. So yeah, he remarks that. He remarks that he went off, basically did his own thing, and points out that they will most likely will never have to cover enough as controversial a topic again. Pointing out that this was probably the most controversial topic they could have done, and hopes that they don't have to do anything worse. However, the ending reveals a bit of a joke, which is that they do have to do something worse, but we're not going to see that episode. The episode that we don't actually see is about racism. So there you go. That's how the episode ends. But in any case, yeah. That's my review of Solar Opposites. It was basically gender equality stuff, and basically it's told from an alien's perspective, which is basically, it gets a lot of things wrong, and that's the whole point. So in any case, yeah. That's my review of Solar Opposites. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that I'm always saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!